Hi, and welcome to section 3 of Breakout Women, Accelerate Your Power. In this section, we're going to talk about how to kick your confidence into overdrive. You know, confidence is one of those nebulous things that we're never sure why we have. Some people have so much of it, you wonder how they can have it. Other people, you wonder why they don't have it. It's interesting because in surveys, around 40% of modern women say that lack of confidence is the biggest hindrance to their career success and advancement, right? And many of us won't admit that, right? I talk to people and they say, oh no, I have confidence. And yet inside, we're screaming, right? We're going, oh my God, I can't do this. It's terrifying. I'm afraid, blah, blah, blah. And yet we've all been taught that we can't flinch, right? Because we're women. And as women, we can't flinch in the male environment. And so even if our confidence is lacking, we'll never admit it. You know, me, I was the most confident, amazing, you know, I would walk into a room and as somebody used to say, I walked in and sucked all the air out and took over the room. Everyone thought I was confident. And yet I used to go home and sob, and I actually burned out my HPA axis, which is your hypothalamus, pituitary, and adrenal, because of all the stress of being so afraid that I was going to be found out, that I wasn't perfect, that whole imposter syndrome, that I was going to be a bag lady on the street, all of those things, because my confidence was consciously and continuously undermined, right? So we're going to talk a lot about confidence because there are techniques you can use to get your confidence back and keep it back. First of all, we need to understand that confidence comes from a wide blend of experiential programs, all right? It's defined based on, okay, so what you believe you can and can't do, what you are confident you'll do, what you're not confident you can't do, what you've been programmed to flinch about, what you've been programmed. Maybe you had somebody in childhood who would get aggressive with you, and that's when you'd cower. So in adulthood, when people get aggressive, your confidence kind of gets a little hit. There's all different ways that confidence gets shaken. But let's take an example. So let's say in this, and you probably can't, I don't know if you can read this or not, but this set of programs, remember, these are the experiential programs. This says I'm not an athlete. This says I can't do math. This says I'm a cook. This says I can clean. And this says I'm pretty. So that would have probably been the programming of a woman around the turn of the century, and not the latest century. I'm talking about the 20th, right? So if something came in about her having to do something with math, she would have zero confidence and back away. If it was about doing math while running, I know it's not logical, but something athletic with math, that would even have less confidence. However, if it was about cleaning, cooking, being pretty, doing the female things, the confidence would be there because that's what was supported in the mind myths, the memes, and the cultural norms. All right? So let's say now let's take this a different. So let's say you've had success, you have had success in sales, you've had success in marketing, but you can't do anything to do with tech, right? You don't like any kind of admin roles. You can't do those very well. And you're not real good in large groups, all right? So that will now influence anything with sales and marketing. You'll have confidence unless there's other triggers from people that trigger other beliefs. But anything, you know, you're asked to do some admin tours or manage tech, you're not going to have the confidence. So that's one of the ways confidence gets built. Now, here's something else that happens with confidence. You see, when we're in long-term fear, right, a long-term fight or flight response, that destroys confidence because it eats away and moves us into a status quo bias, into a constant tremor, if you will, in our unconscious mind. And we're always protecting ourselves from that threat, right? Well, that kind of describes most of America today. So we have that layered on top of all the other confidence or lack of confidence programs. And it constantly eats at us, right? It eats at us and reduces our overall ability to be confident, all right? Now, women also have some other things that cause us to limit our confidence. First of all, we have the idea that we have to be modest. And this is an ancient mind myth. But that whole modesty equation in women is something that is still programmed inherently into us by society from different aspects. Even though we've progressed so far, it's still inherent in society. So that's working on us. Also, our brain. Now, our brain, as I've talked about before, is mostly focused on communication and nurturing, right? And both of those things have to do with others, all right? So we're focused on the others, on whether they're okay, on whether they're doing well. And that doesn't necessarily give us a drive to promote ourselves or to be confident, all right? It drives us to focus on everybody else, worry about them, and not even think about ourselves, all right? So that's something else that goes on. And we're going to talk about that as well, and we're going to talk about all these things and how you can begin to step into more confidence, all right? So we're going to cover why we lose our confidence, and there's a lot of reasons. We're going to cover some mind techniques that will help you to improve your confidence by doing them on a daily basis or whenever you don't feel confident. We're going to talk about the minds of movers and shakers and what's different about them versus anybody who's not a mover or a shaker, and how you can be more like a mover and shaker, right? We're going to talk about how to promote yourself and how to learn to promote yourself successfully. And then we're also going to talk about how you protect your mind from the mind myths, from the limiting programmings, from people who take your confidence. So that's an overview of this section. What I'd like you to do, you have a new audio program. You've now finished Mind Shifting Away from Fear, although I do want you to continue using it. Anytime you start to feel fear in your life, pull that audio program out and use it a few days. It will wipe it out, and over time you will release all the fear. But now you have one called Mind Shifting into Confidence. And this program's designed to boost your confidence way up. So begin to use it just as you did the last audio. I'd like you to use it. It's best if you do it at night before you go to bed, and it's best if you do it every day. If you can't, minimum of 4 times a week. And yes, if you can't do it right before you go to bed, it is designed to also wake you up if you have to go back to work or come back into, this reality instead of the trance state that you're in. It will wake you up, but it's much better if you can just float off into dreams, because while you're asleep, your unconscious mind processes. Okay, that's the overview of section 1. See you back here for lesson 2.